What is going on, YouTube? This is Demon Game here, and I just wanted to talk about Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. So, after a couple days of, processing it and stuff, I really wanted to talk about it and cover a little bit of my wishes and things that I want to see in this game. So, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had an insane roster, right? And they did 1, 2, 3 games. But I want to look at this day and age with gaming. Now, I'm trying not to get my hopes up here for this game. Sorry if I burp a little bit. Had spaghetti a little while ago. It was delicious. But, anyways, Budokai Tenkaichi 4 is happening. It's real. I cannot believe it. We don't know who's developing the game yet. We have no clue whatsoever. As to who is making this game yet, we don't know if it's Dimps. We don't know who, other than that Bandai, of course, is the ones that are the head people for the Dragon Ball Z games, blah, blah, blah. But as for things that I want to see. So, in this day and age, we know we're going to get DLC for the game. We know the game probably will be a game that's supported for like 5 years down the line or whatever after it releases, with DLC content, expansion passes, blah, blah, blah. So, whereas back in the day, we got 3 Budokai games, 3 Budokai Tenkaichi games, and the roster just built each game, blah, blah, blah. It made sense. So, roster. We all know we want a big roster. But I'm hoping for, hopefully, around 100 characters at launch. But maybe that's me getting my hopes up, just because, listen, them bringing this franchise back goes to show that this is something that was a fever dream for all of us Dragon Ball Z fans for ages and ages. It's been 16 long years since Budokai Tenkaichi 3. So when it comes to the roster part of things, Tenkaichi 3, that was one of its big things, big things and huge charms, was the roster, because it was like if you include all the different forms and stuff, it was almost like 150 characters. It was absolutely insane, and the soundtrack and stuff was glorious, and the gameplay was just top notch. It was peak, man. That was peak anime 3D arena fighters, was Budokai Tenkaichi. Now, we got Xenoverse, right? Xenoverse 1, when it first came out, was like a big deal because we got Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods then, and Xenoverse like the same year in 2013, I believe it was. And that was like, Dragon Ball's back, like we had that feeling that Dragon Ball was back. We got this arena fighter and it's sick. You get to create your character. Xenoverse 1's trash now, obviously. Xenoverse 2, we got that, and it's got a huge roster. It might have actually outdone Budokai Tenkaichi 3, actually by now for sure, with all of the DLC content that it's gotten and it being a live service type of Dragon Ball game. And despite its flaws, that game is pretty solid in its own ways. But back to roster for Tenkaichi 4. My hopes is for at least around 100-ish characters for launch, but I don't know if that's going to actually happen, because you got to understand that in this day and age, we get a lot of DLC for games. They don't go from sequel to sequel like they did back in the day. They just can update the games with DLC content and expansions and all that, and that's probably what they're going to do. My hope is that we do not get a Tenkaichi 5 and 6. They just stick to one game, whether it be called Budokai Tenkaichi 4, or if they just want to go like God of War route and just call it Budokai Tenkaichi, and it's kind of like a reboot type deal, and just start with a really good roster and then have a healthy roster for like 5 years down the road. Keep the DLC content coming, from characters, story arcs, and all that stuff. Another thing that I want to talk about here about Budokai Tenkaichi 4 is the story mode. Okay, so when it comes to the story mode, a lot of people have complained in the past about, oh, we're just getting the same old story with Dragon Ball Z, blah, blah, blah. One thing we have not gotten is Dragon Ball Super as a story mode in a video game yet. I think they have perfect potential here to do that. Now, will they do Z and Super? I hope so. I think, because when you look back on Tenkaichi 3, it did OG Dragon Ball, it did Dragon Ball Z, and it did Dragon Ball GT. It did all of it. So the expectations for this game are very, very high, and I think they realize that because of the demand for this game for so many years. And I think not only that, but the reactions to this game being announced was insane. The internet exploded, and everyone is talking about this game right now. Everybody's talking about this game right now that likes Dragon Ball Z, because for me, I was like 10 years old playing Tenkaichi 3. And we all like grew up with that franchise, with Dragon Ball Z. Some people, the Tenkaichi games were what made them become a Dragon Ball Z fan as well. So wacky characters would be interesting as well for Tenkaichi 4. Like, they did Turtle and like Mr. Popo and weird stuff like that. I don't think we need that. You know, it didn't make really much sense. But I think they could do that with some characters like Master Roshi, for instance. They added him to fighters. Definitely add him in here, you know. He can work for sure. I think there's a lot of potential there. The Tournament of Power, for instance, had a lot of wacky and interesting characters. Add them as playable characters. Because not many of the Tournament of Power characters have actually been added to Xenoverse 2. And there's a lot of wacky, weird ones. And I think they can really capitalize on that for Xenoverse, for Budokai Tenkaichi 4. And I think they also should definitely do OG Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super in here. As for the story mode, I don't know if they're going to do all that. If they just did Dragon Ball Super instead of Dragon Ball Z for the main campaign, I think that would be weird. And I think they should just do Dragon Ball Z and Super. I don't think they're... I feel like they might not do GT content until DLC, although I think they really should, because Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and stuff. There's a lot of stuff in GT that people really love. And my question is, if they're going to do that, how are they going to add the movie content as well? Because I think for base roster, you know, you got to have at least some of your movie villains, like Cooler, Lord Slug, you know, Turles. You got to have, like, them in there, like, base game. You know, I think some movie characters are acceptable to be in there for base game. Also, well, we did get the new Broly movie in action in Xenoverse a little bit, tie-ins, but imagine what that would look like in this game if the graphics look phenomenal. The Dragon Ball Super Broly movie in action here would be so sick. Like, so freaking cool. Now, when it comes to gameplay and stuff, they nailed the gameplay in the past, you know, with these games. It's freaking fantastic. It's phenomenal. They were the 3D fighters. However, beam struggles. I want to talk about that a little bit. Because here's the thing. I don't want to break my PlayStation 5 controllers, you know, or my hands, my palms, you know. I kind of like these palms, and I don't need to be bleeding. Because, you know, you'd be like this really, really fast, constantly with beam struggles in the Tenkaichi series, and I don't want that to happen to my PS5 controllers, you know. So I think when it comes to like beam struggles and stuff, I feel like they could just make you mash a specific button or something. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that. Do you have any ideas on how they could like utilize beam struggles? Because I don't think doing the whole thing breaking your controller thing works, because then you need like 15 freaking controllers because you're going to keep breaking them, and I don't think that's a good idea. Personally, I don't know if that's a good idea. Beam struggles are cool, and they made them kind of like a realistic type of thing, sorta, the way that the mechanic worked, but I just don't know if I want beam struggles back or not in Budokai Tenkaichi 4. We did talk about the roster. I talked a little bit about the story mode, and gameplay-wise, you know, you can make it a little bit similar to what it was. Now, I wonder if they're going to make it like where your characters can transform right off the bat in battle, or if they're going to make them have completely separate forms the way that they did in Tenkaichi 3, where the characters you chose a character, and then they had Super Saiyan 1, 2, and 3, blah, 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 and you got to choose which one that you wanted to play as. I'm curious if they're going to do something like that, or if they're going to make the characters just completely transform and stuff, because that's something that I think is an important mechanic to see if they're going to make it to where you just can transform or choose a specific form to play as, and whether that form can transform or not, I don't know. I have no idea, but it'll be interesting. Another thing, giants. I want to see the giants back as playable characters. That Great Apes, Harudagarn, frickin' Broly was kind of like a giant, but Broly's always been playable in Dragon Ball games, so that's different. But I think like the Great Apes and Harudagarn are like, were such a sick thing to see them massive characters playable, and they made it work. You know, they didn't make them like raids and stuff like Xenoverse does, but Xenoverse utilizes giant characters well. I love the whole raid aspect. I think that's great and unique to Xenoverse. I don't know if I want to see something such as raid battles in Budokai Tenkaichi 4, because that's a Xenoverse thing, you know? I feel like that's unique to Xenoverse. Xenoverse does it really well, so just make the giants playable again, because we loved that. That was so unique, and part of the charm of the Tenkaichi series was being able to play as those giants, those giant characters, just for the heck of it, you know? Another thing that I'm trying to remember related to characters and gameplay. Okay, so another thing that I remembered to talk about was, will you be able to create your own character? Is this something that should be a part of the game? I don't know. I don't know if that's something that really should be a part of the Tenkaichi series, you know? I feel like we need that core Dragon Ball Z game without the created character. Let there be a Xenoverse 3 down the line. You know, this will be next, obviously, but let there be a Xenoverse 3 down the line since Xenoverse works so well. Unless Xenoverse 2 is just going to keep going and going and going and going and going as it has been. I think that Tenkaichi 4 doesn't need it. It doesn't need a created character thing, especially when you're looking at, let's say this gets competitive, right? They have good online. They either would have to ban created characters or they would have to not have them in the game because of balance. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with created characters, you know, that makes it so cheap. We see it in Xenoverse. You know, there's so many people in Xenoverse that just use their created characters because that's what they're familiar with. That's what they have set up, you know, so it doesn't really matter. Like, if someone plays Super Saiyan Blue Goku, for instance, versus someone with their created character, that person with the created character has an advantage because they know everything about their character. And I don't think, personally, that it's something necessary for the Tenkaichi series, bring this series back. I don't think it's very necessary to have the created character in this specifically. I believe that this will be our next big Dragon Ball Z game, and then I still believe down the line there might be a Xenoverse 3, but as of right now, it doesn't even matter. I thought Xenoverse 3 actually would be the next Dragon Ball Z game. I actually genuinely thought that was going to be the next DBZ game. They threw me for a loop here. I did not expect ever that we would get another Budokai Tenkaichi game. Like, we've waited for, it's been 16 years and it's happening. So I think I covered about everything, you know. When it comes to the online and stuff, hopefully it's good, you know. Hopefully they make it a little bit competitive. Also, there's people have talked about like 3v3 or 5v5 like battle arena type systems to play online against each other, or like tag systems and stuff, which there was a Tenkaichi or Budokai game on I think the Game Boy or DS that apparently that was had some kind of tag mechanic as well. So I don't know, I feel like there should be different modes, obviously. Also, another thing that would be kind of cool is if they brought back what they had in the Budokai series, the World Tournament thing, but it's 3D, so I don't know how that would work, but I guess technically you could maybe still knock someone out. I don't know. There's so many different ideas. Let me know your guys' thoughts on all the different ideas for Budokai Tenkaichi 4, because I have a lot of different ideas, a lot of different things. I really think that they should stick with the formula of the originals, but change a few different things, such as the beam struggles, for sure. That way we're not breaking 15 controllers. And give us a healthy, good roster at launch that we're happy with. Graphics, you know, even if the graphics weren't that good, as long as the gameplay and everything's good, then I don't think it really matters. But these days, I mean, if you look at the trailer, the grass, I mean, it's a CG trailer, I think. I mean, I don't think that's in-game footage, but it's not confirmed whether that's in-game footage or just a CG trailer. Like, that's not confirmed or denied. We know nothing about this whatsoever, and we probably won't until at least the middle of the year or later in the year. Like, this is definitely not coming out this year. This is going to probably be a 2024 game, absolutely. My guess is like mid-2024, because from what I know, I think it's in early development. But yeah, anyways, guys, I just had to talk about Budokai Tenkaichi 4, because this is a dream come true for all of us Dragon Ball Z fans that grew up with the Tenkaichi series as kids. And I'm going to be covering this game, hands down, whenever there's new information. Also, the original guy who did the music for Tenkaichi 3, or just the Tenkaichi series in general, I believe he is returning as well to compose the music, from what I heard in a tweet. So that is also really cool. So that's just my hopes, dreams, thoughts, things, ideas. I don't know. You know, I'm hype. We're all hype. It's a dream come true. This is something we've asked for forever. Like, I remember people were like, Xenoverse, it won't die. Bring me back Budokai Tenkaichi. I've been wanting it, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was just a fever dream. Never was going to happen. And, well, it happened. Well, anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are a Dragon Ball fan. And, I don't know, I make other stuff too. But I'm going to be covering this game, no doubt, because this is like a big deal, Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Feel free to watch my reaction video. It's probably not going to be right here. It's going to be in the outro, but whatever. to check out my reaction to it. I definitely flipped out and lost my mind. I think I broke my bed more, whatever. I gotta get some new wood underneath that. Thanks guys so much for watching this video. Give me all of your thoughts on Budokai Tenkaichi 4 because I want to know everything that you guys think and what your ideas are, what your thoughts are on this. What kind of crazy, wacky, insane characters do you want playable in this game? Do you want just everyone from every series right at launch? I wish. No, that's only wishful thinking. We're going to get DLC probably for like 5 years for this game or something. And I'm going to get it all. But yeah. And guys, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. We'll see you guys all next time. Peace.